I was told over and over that I wasn't welcome at any family's event. So, when I got married, I didn't invite them and they lost it, demanding to fix things. But I made one call that ended it all. Growing up as the youngest of 4 kids, I always thought families were supposed to have your back. Turns out mine had a different definition of family than I did. My name is Phyllis, and this is the story of how I went from being the family's scapegoat to the villain who destroyed their perfect little fantasy world. Spoiler alert, I regret nothing. It started when I was about 18 years old. My oldest brother Marcus was getting married to this woman named Bethany, who my mom absolutely adored. The wedding was this huge production held at some country club with a guest list that probably cost more than a semester of college. Everyone in our family was involved somehow. Marcus was the golden child, so naturally, this was the event of the century, according to my mother. My sister Jessica was a bridesmaid. My other brother Tyler was a groomsman. My parents were hosting the rehearsal dinner and giving this elaborate toast they'd been practicing for weeks. Meanwhile, I was told I could come to the ceremony, but not the reception because space was limited and Bethy's family was quite large. I was 18. I just graduated high school and was about to start college. I didn't fully understand what that meant at the time, but I remember crying in my room while my mom told me to stop being dramatic. She said some people just don't make the cut, and I needed to learn that life isn't fair. My dad didn't say anything. He never did when it came to disagreements with Mom. The ceremony came and went. I sat in a pew with my grandmother, who spent the whole time whispering about how beautiful Bethany looked and how Marcus had really landed himself a prize. After the ceremony ended, my grandmother drove me home while everyone else went to celebrate. I spent the evening watching TV alone in our living room, eating leftover pizza. That was just the beginning. When I turned 20, my parents threw a massive graduation party for Jessica. She finished college with honors, and they rented out the back room of this fancy Italian restaurant downtown. The invite list included distant cousins I'd only met twice, family friends from my parents' church group, and pretty much everyone my parents had ever known. I helped set up decorations the day before, carrying boxes and hanging streamers for hours. The day of the party, my mother pulled me aside. She explained that there had been a miscommunication with the restaurant about headcount, and they were over capacity. Someone had to stay home. And since I was just starting college and Jessica's friends from her graduate program were coming, it made sense for me to sit this one out. She handed me $40 and told me to order Chinese food and have a nice, quiet evening. I was devastated. My Aunt Karen actually confronted my mom about it when she found out, asking why I wasn't there. My mother apparently told her I had a school project due and couldn't make it. The lie was so casual, so effortless. That same year, Tyler got engaged to his girlfriend, Amanda. The engagement party was held at Amanda's parents' house, which had this beautiful backyard with string lights and a pool. I wasn't invited to that either. This time, my mother didn't even bother with an excuse. She just said it was an intimate gathering for close friends and family only. I pointed out that I was family. She gave me this look, the kind that could freeze water, and said, "You know what I mean, Phyllis?" I didn't actually, but I was starting to figure it out. By the time I was in my mid-20s, the pattern was unmistakable. Thanksgiving dinners, where I'd show up and find out they'd already eaten hours earlier because they thought I wasn't coming. Christmas mornings where everyone opened presents together, but mine were left in a separate pile to open alone later. Birthday parties for nieces and nephews where my mother would call me the day before and suggest maybe I shouldn't come because I might feel uncomfortable since I don't know Amanda's family that well yet. The excuses were endless and creative. Too many people, not enough space, wrong timing, awkward dynamics, budget constraints. Every single family gathering had some reason why I specifically couldn't attend. My therapist, Dr. Sharon Matthews, later told me this was called scapegoating. One family member gets designated as the outsider, the problem, the one who doesn't quite fit. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because the exclusion itself creates distance and resentment, which then gets used as justification for further exclusion. But back then, I just thought something was wrong with me. I tried everything to fix it. I lost weight thinking maybe they were embarrassed by how I looked. I changed my major from art to business, hoping they'd take me more seriously. I volunteered to help with every event, thinking if I was useful enough, they'd want me around. Nothing worked. The final straw came during Marcus and Bethy's 10th anniversary party. It was this elaborate vow renewal ceremony, followed by a reception at the same country club where they'd gotten married. I'd driven 3 hours from where I was living at the time, brought an expensive gift, and showed up in my nicest dress. My mother met me at the door. She looked horrified. "Phyllis, what are you doing here?" I showed her the text message Jessica had sent me 2 weeks prior with all the details. My mother's face went through about 5 different emotions before settling on annoyance. "Jessica wasn't supposed to tell you about this. This is a private family event." Something inside me snapped. I am family. You know, these events get complicated when you're here. People have to watch what they say, and it just creates tension. Marcus specifically said he wanted this to be drama-free. I'd driven 3 hours. I'd bought a gift. I was wearing heels that were killing my feet, and I was being turned away at the door like some unwanted solicitor. I left the gift on a table in the entryway and walked back to my car. I didn't cry. I was done crying about these people. That was 3 years ago. I was 31. Shortly after that disaster, I met Ryan through a mutual friend at a dinner party. He was a software engineer with kind eyes and this dorky sense of humor that made me laugh until my stomach hurt. We went on a first date that turned into a 6-hour conversation over coffee that had long since gone cold. 3 months in, I knew he was different. 6 months in, I'd introduced him to my friends, but kept my family at a distance. A year in, he proposed on a hiking trail at sunset, and I said yes without hesitation. We started planning the wedding immediately. Small ceremony, maybe 70 people, at this beautiful venue in the mountains about 2 hours outside the city. Ryan's family was involved from day one. His mom helped me pick out flowers. His sister was my maid of honor. His dad joked about finally getting a daughter. The question of my own family came up during one of our planning sessions. Ryan's mother, Linda, asked if my parents had any dietary restrictions for the catering menu. "They're not coming," I said simply. The room went quiet. Ryan squeezed my hand under the table. He knew bits and pieces of my history, but I'd never fully laid it all out. Linda looked genuinely confused. Did something happen? They've made it very clear over the years that I'm not welcome at family events. I'm just returning the favor. Ryan's father, Tom, set down his pen. "I'm sorry." "Could you repeat that?" So I told them everything. Every excluded birthday, every missed holiday, every time I'd been turned away or uninvited or asked to leave early. Ryan had heard some of it, but hearing the full timeline laid out chronologically seemed to affect him deeply. His jaw kept clenching. Linda actually cried. "Those people don't deserve you at their events, let alone at yours." We finalized the guest list without a single member of my biological family on it. My parents, my siblings, their spouses, their kids, none of them received invitations. It felt terrifying and liberating at the same time. The invitations went out 6 weeks before the wedding. They were these beautiful cream-colored cards with forest green calligraphy. Ryan's family made up about 50 of the 70 guests. The rest were my friends from college, my coworkers, and a few people from the book club I joined the previous year. For 3 weeks, I heard nothing from my family. I'd half expected angry phone calls or guilt-trip texts, but there was only silence. I almost convinced myself they didn't care. Then Jessica called me on a Tuesday evening while I was making dinner. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Phyllis, we need to talk about this wedding situation." I stirred the pasta sauce and waited. "Mom just found out you're getting married, and none of us are invited. She's absolutely beside herself." "How did she find out?" "Amanda saw something on Facebook from one of your friends. The post mentioned your upcoming wedding, and when Amanda asked Mom about it, she had no idea what she was talking about." I couldn't help but laugh. "So let me get this straight. After years of excluding me from every family event, Mom is upset that she's not invited to mine. That's different." "Phyllis, we're your family. Are you, though? Because family usually shows up for each other. Family includes each other. Family doesn't turn people away at the door." Jessica sighed dramatically. "You're being incredibly selfish. Mom is devastated. Marcus is furious. Tyler thinks you're being vindictive." "Good. What?" I said good. "I'm glad they're upset. Maybe now they'll have some idea how I felt for the past 16 years. We're trying to fix things here, and you're just throwing it back in our faces. Nobody's trying to fix anything, Jessica. You're trying to control the narrative so you can all attend a party. There's a difference. She hung up on me. Ryan, who'd been listening from the doorway, came over and wrapped his arms around me. You okay? Yeah, actually, I'm great. The call started coming daily after that. Marcus called to tell me I was being immature and that family forgives family. I reminded him about his anniversary party and hung up. Tyler sent a long text message about how our parents were getting older and I'd regret creating this divide. I didn't respond. My mother left a voicemail crying about how she'd always tried her best and didn't understand where this hostility was coming from. That voicemail almost broke me. Almost. 2 weeks before the wedding, my father called. This was significant because my dad never called me. He barely spoke to me, even when we were in the same room. Phyllis, your mother wants to talk about coming to the wedding. The answer is no. She's willing to apologize for any hurt feelings. Hurt feelings? Dad, she turned me away at the door of Marcus's anniversary party. That wasn't hurt feelings. That was active rejection. She says that was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding that's been happening consistently for 16 years. He was quiet for a moment. What do you want from us, Phyllis? The question caught me off guard. I don't want anything from you anymore. I wanted to be included. I wanted to be part of the family, but I've accepted that's never going to happen. So, you're just going to cut us all off? I'm doing exactly what you've all been doing to me. I'm just being more honest about it. He hung up without saying goodbye. The week of the wedding, things escalated. My mother showed up at my apartment unannounced on a Wednesday afternoon. I was working from home and answered the door in sweatpants and a coffee-stained t-shirt. Phyllis, we need to fix this. There's nothing to fix, Mom. I'm your mother. I deserve to be at your wedding. The audacity of that statement almost made me laugh. You've spent years telling me I don't deserve to be at family events. Why is this different? Because this is your wedding. It's important. And Marcus's wedding wasn't important. Jessica's graduation party wasn't important. Every Christmas and Thanksgiving I've missed wasn't important. She looked genuinely baffled, as if she couldn't understand why I was being so difficult. Those were complicated situations. No, Mom, they were choices. You chose to exclude me repeatedly, deliberately, and now I'm making the same choice. Your father and I will give you $10,000 toward the wedding if you add us to the guest list. I actually had to sit down after that one. You're trying to buy your way into my wedding. We're trying to support you. Where was this support when I was crying in my room at 12 years old because I wasn't allowed at Marcus's reception? Where was it when I ate Chinese food alone while everyone celebrated Jessica? Where was it every single time I was told I wasn't welcome? My mother's face hardened. You were always so sensitive. Everything was a drama with you. Get out of my apartment. Phyllis, get out or I'm calling the police. She left, and I locked the door behind her with shaking hands. Ryan came home an hour later to find me rage cleaning the kitchen. He ordered pizza, put on my favorite movie, and didn't make me talk about it until I was ready. The Friday before the wedding, Marcus showed up at my workplace. I worked at a marketing firm downtown, and he somehow charmed his way past reception. My coworker Stephanie came to my cubicle looking apologetic. There's a man here who says he's your brother. I close my laptop, tell security to escort him out. Phyllis, he seems pretty upset. I don't care. I don't want to talk to him. Marcus appeared behind Stephanie, looking frantic. 5 minutes? Just give me 5 minutes. My boss, Richard, had come out of his office at the commotion. Is there a problem here? No problem, I said calmly. This person is leaving. Marcus ignored everyone else and focused on me. Mom is in the hospital. My stomach dropped. What? She had a panic attack so severe they admitted her for observation. The stress of all this has been destroying her. Phyllis. Richard looked at me with concern. Do you need to take the rest of the day? I looked at Marcus. Really? Looked at him. He was playing the guilt card, using our mother's health as a weapon. It was manipulative and transparent, and I was so tired of falling for it. Is she dying? Marcus looked shocked. What? No, Is she in immediate danger? The doctor said she's stable, but then she'll be fine. Richard, I don't need any time off. Marcus, you need to leave before I have security remove you. You're really going to do this? You're going to let our mother suffer because of some grudge? I'm going to protect my peace because your family has spent years making me feel worthless. There's a difference. Security did end up escorting Marcus out. He yelled something about me being heartless as they walked him to the elevator. Half my office had witnessed the entire thing. I sat back down at my desk, opened in my laptop, and got back to work. My hands were trembling, but I didn't cry. Stephanie brought me coffee an hour later. "You okay?" "Getting there." The wedding was on Saturday. The morning started with mimosas and laughter at the hotel where my bridesmaids and I were getting ready. Ryan's sister Emily did my makeup while my best friend Morgan from college curled my hair. The dress fit perfectly, a simple A-line gown with lace sleeves that made me feel beautiful. My phone rang around noon. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Phyllis, this is Bethany, Marcus's wife." I hadn't heard from her directly in years. "What do you want, Bethany?" "I'm calling to beg you to reconsider. Your family is falling apart over this. My family fell apart a long time ago. They're just noticing now because they're the ones being excluded for once. Marcus is beside himself. Your mother is on medication for anxiety. Tyler and Amanda are talking about not coming to Christmas this year because the whole family dynamic is destroyed. That sounds like a lot of problems that have nothing to do with me. How can you be so cold? Years of practice." I hung up and turned off my phone. Emily squeezed my shoulder. "You've got this." The venue was perfect. String lights hung between trees. Flowers decorated every surface, and the mountain view behind the altar was breathtaking. 70 people who actually loved me filled the seats. Ryan's parents sat in the front row looking proud. My book club friends were dabbing their eyes before the ceremony even started. I walked down the aisle alone. No father to give me away because giving someone away implies ownership, and I'd never belonged to my family anyway. Ryan was crying before I made it halfway down the aisle. His vows mentioned building a new definition of family together, one based on choice rather than obligation. Mine mentioned finding home and people who showed up. The reception was perfect. Dinner was delicious. The speeches were heartfelt, and the dancing lasted until the venue staff had to politely kick us out. Ryan's grandmother, who was 83 and hilarious, got tipsy on champagne and told inappropriate stories about Ryan as a child. Morgan's toast mentioned how she'd watched me grow from a sad college freshman into someone who knew her worth. At no point did I wish my biological family was there. At no point did I feel like something was missing. The trouble started on our honeymoon. Ryan and I had gone to Costa Rica for 2 weeks, rainforests, beaches, and absolutely no contact with the outside world. We both turned off our phones and left them in the hotel safe. When we got back and I finally powered on my phone, I had 389 messages waiting. The first few were from Jessica, progressively angrier, then Tyler, then Marcus, then numbers I didn't recognize. Voicemails from my mother that started pleading and ended threatening. Text messages from extended family members I hadn't spoken to in years, all saying variations of "how could you." The most recent message was from my Aunt Karen, my mother's sister. "Call me immediately. This has gone too far." I called Karen while Ryan unpacked. She answered on the first ring. "Phyllis, thank God. We need to talk about your mother. What about her? She's threatening to sue you." I actually laughed. Sue me for what? Emotional distress. She's talked to a lawyer about pursuing legal action for the trauma you've caused by excluding the family from your wedding. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. She's serious, Phyllis. She's telling everyone that you've destroyed the family and that she's going to make you pay for it legally if you don't agree to some kind of reconciliation. Something in me shifted. I've been playing defense this entire time, setting boundaries and protecting myself, but they kept pushing, kept demanding, kept trying to force their way into a life they'd spent years pushing me out of. It was time to play offense. Tell Mom that if she wants to pursue lethal action, she's welcome to try. But I need you to do something for me first. What? I need you to think back over the past 16 years. Think about every event I was excluded from. Every time Mom made excuses for why I couldn't attend. Every time Dad stayed silent while I was pushed out. You've been there for some of it. You questioned it at Jessica's graduation party. Karen was quiet. If Mom wants to go legal, I'll be happy to provide documentation. I've kept every text message, every email, every voicemail. I have witnesses who can testify to the pattern of exclusion. I have a therapist who can speak to the psychological impact. And I have you, Aunt Karen, who confronted Mom directly about excluding me. Phyllis, I don't want to be dragged into. You're already in it. Everyone is, because Mom made the choice to weaponize family events, and now she's facing consequences. So, here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell Mom that if she pursues any legal action, I will countersue for emotional distress and harassment, and I will win because I actually have evidence. You're bluffing. Try me. I hung up and immediately called Dr. Matthews. She was on vacation, but answered when she saw my name. Phyllis, is everything okay? I need documentation of our sessions discussing family exclusion. How detailed can you get without violating confidentiality? If you sign a release, I can provide a professional summary of the therapeutic issues we've addressed, including family scapegoating patterns and their psychological impact. Why? I explained the situation. Dr. Matthews was quiet for a long moment. I'll have something prepared by Monday. And Phyllis, what you're doing, setting these boundaries, that's healthy. Don't let them convince you otherwise. Next, I called a lawyer. Brian Foster came recommended by a friend who'd gone through a messy family situation. I explained everything over the phone, and he asked me to come in Monday morning. Bring any documentation you have. Text messages, emails, voicemails, anything that shows the pattern of exclusion. I spent Sunday organizing 16 years of evidence. Screenshots of messages where I was uninvited to events, emails making excuses for why I couldn't attend, voicemails from my mother's recent campaign. I created a timeline document with dates, events, and specific examples of exclusion. It was damning. Laid out in black and white, the pattern was undeniable. Monday morning, I sat in Brian's office and watched him review everything. His expression grew increasingly grim. This is textbook harassment and emotional abuse. If your mother actually tries to sue you, her case will be dismissed immediately. But more importantly, you have grounds for restraining orders based on the harassment you've documented over the past month. Restraining orders. They've shown up at your home and workplace uninvited. They've contacted you hundreds of times, despite your clear desire for no contact. They've made threats of legal action. A judge would absolutely grant temporary restraining orders, possibly permanent ones, depending on how they respond. I thought about it for approximately 3 seconds. Do it. Brian filed the paperwork that afternoon. Temporary restraining orders for my mother, father, Marcus, Jessica, and Tyler. All 5 of them had participated in the harassment campaign, and all 5 had documented evidence against them. The orders were served Wednesday morning. I was at work when Brian called to confirm. It's done. They've all been served. You should expect some reaction. The reaction came within an hour. Aunt Karen called from a restricted number. Phyllis, what have you done? Protected myself. Your mother is hysterical. She can't come within 500 feet of you. This is insane. What's insane is that it took a court order for them to respect my boundaries. The whole family is taking sides. Everyone thinks you've gone too far. Good. They can all stay far away from me, too. My phone started ringing constantly. Block numbers, unknown callers, text messages from cousins I hadn't spoken to since childhood. Everyone had an opinion about how I was tearing the family apart. I turned off my phone and went back to work. That evening, Ryan and I sat on our apartment balcony with wine and Chinese takeout. He'd been my rock through all of this, never once suggesting I should just give in or make peace. How are you feeling? He asked. Lighter. Like I've been carrying this weight for so long that I forgot what it felt like to put it down. Any regrets? I thought about it honestly. No, I gave them years to treat me like family. They chose not to. I'm just enforcing the boundary they created. My phone was still off, but Ryan's rang around 8. He checked the caller ID and frowned. It's my mom. That's weird. She usually texts. He answered on speaker. Hey, Mom, what's up? Ryan, I just got a very strange phone call from Phyllis's mother. My stomach dropped. Of course, they'd found a way around the restraining order. What did she say? She said Phyllis has been struggling with mental health issues and has had a breakdown. She claimed Phyllis has cut off the entire family based on delusions, and that she's worried about Phyllis's well-being. She asked if we'd noticed any concerning behavior. I grabbed the phone. Linda, I'm here. What exactly did she say? Oh, good, honey. She made it sound like you were in crisis. She said the restraining order was proof that you weren't thinking clearly and asked if we could convince you to get help. Ryan's jaw clenched. She's trying to manipulate you. I figured that out pretty quickly, Linda said. I told her that you seem perfectly healthy and happy, and that maybe she should respect the legal boundaries that have been put in place. Then I hung up. I could have cried. Thank you for calling us. Of course. And honey, from what Ryan's told me, you're doing exactly the right thing. Don't let her get in your head. After we hung up, Ryan pulled up the restraining order paperwork. Can she contact my family? The order says she can't contact me directly or through third parties. Let me text Brian. Brian responded within minutes. The call to Linda violated the restraining order. He'd filed documentation with the court in the morning. This could result in her being held in contempt, his message read. Do you want to pursue it? I stared at my phone for a long time. This was the nuclear option. Holding my mother in contempt of court would mean fines, possibly even jail time, depending on the judge. Do it, I typed back. Ryan squeezed my hand. You're sure? She tried to convince your mother I was mentally unstable. She's attempting to isolate me by turning people against me. This isn't about attending a wedding anymore. This is about control. The court hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. Brian advised me to be prepared for my family to show up despite the restraining orders. They'll try to speak during the hearing. The judge will shut it down, but they'll try. The courtroom was exactly like TV shows depicted, with paneling, uncomfortable benches, and that distinct smell of old paper and floor polish. I sat next to Brian wearing my most professional outfit. Ryan sat in the gallery behind us for moral support. My mother arrived with her own lawyer, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit who looked annoyed to be there. She couldn't look at me directly because of where the bailiff made her sit. Marcus and Jessica showed up too, sitting in the back. My father and Tyler were notably absent. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Henderson, reviewed the case files with an expression that gave nothing away. Miss Phyllis Thompson, you filed for permanent restraining orders against Margaret Thompson, David Thompson, Marcus Thompson, Jessica Thompson-Wells, and Tyler Thompson based on harassment and violation of temporary orders. Mrs. Thompson, your attorney may present your response. Her lawyer stood. Your Honor, this is clearly a family dispute that's been blown out of proportion. Mrs. Thompson and the other family members are concerned about their daughter and sister's well-being and have attempted to reach out in care and love. The contact with the mother-in-law was simply one concerned parent reaching out to another. Judge Henderson looked unimpressed. The temporary restraining order specifically prohibited contact through third parties. That's not ambiguous. Your Honor, if I may, my mother tried to speak. You may not, the judge interrupted. Your attorney speaks for you. Brian stood. Your Honor, we have documented evidence of 16 years of emotional abuse and exclusion, followed by a campaign of harassment when my client set boundaries. The contact with Mrs. Linda Foster was not an isolated incident of concern, but rather an attempt to manipulate my client's support system. We have hundreds of documented attempts at contact from multiple family members despite clear requests to cease. He presented the timeline I created, the text messages, the voicemails, everything. Judge Henderson reviewed it all in silence. The courtroom was so quiet I could hear Marcus shifting uncomfortably in his seat behind us. Finally, she looked up. Mrs. Thompson, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Marcus Thompson, Ms. Thompson-Wells, and Mr. Tyler Thompson. Though I see the latter two are not present, I'm going to be very direct with you. This documentation shows a clear pattern of exclusion followed by harassment. Your daughter and sister has a legal right to determine who is and is not in her life. The attempt to contact her mother-in-law with misleading information about mental health is particularly concerning as it appears designed to isolate and discredit her. My mother's lawyer tried to interrupt. Your Honor, I'm not finished, Judge Henderson cut him off. I'm granting the permanent restraining orders for all 5 respondents. Mrs. Thompson, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Marcus Thompson, Ms. Thompson-Wells, and Mr. Tyler Thompson. You are all to have no direct or indirect contact with Phyllis Thompson. That includes through family members, through friends, through social media, or through any other means. If any of you violate these orders, you will be arrested. Do you understand? My mother was crying. She's my daughter. She's an adult woman who has clearly communicated her boundaries. This court recognizes those boundaries. We're adjourned. The gavel came down. I walked out of that courtroom, feeling like I could finally breathe. Marcus tried to approach us in the hallway, but Ryan stepped between us. Don't, Phyllis, please. This is destroying our mother. I looked at him, really looked at him. He was 38 years old, successful, married with 3 kids I barely knew. He never once stood up for me, never questioned why I was excluded, never invited me to anything personally. Your mother destroyed herself by treating her child like garbage for 16 years. I'm just the mirror showing her the consequences. We walked away. Behind us, I heard Jessica crying and my mother saying something about her baby, her youngest. I didn't turn around. The story made its way through the extended family quickly. Aunt Karen called Ryan's phone one last time to tell me that I had torn the family apart and that everyone was choosing sides. Good, I told her. The trash is taking itself out. She hasn't called since. What I didn't expect was how the fallout would ripple through other areas. About 2 weeks after the court hearing, I ran into Bethany at the grocery store. She was in the produce section, and I briefly considered turning my cart around and leaving, but something stopped me. I was done running. She saw me before I could decide. Her face went through several emotions: surprise, discomfort, something that might have been guilt. Phyllis. Bethany. We stood there awkwardly, both holding bundles of organic kale like weapons. She spoke first. Marcus has been a mess since the hearing. He barely sleeps. That's unfortunate, I said. And I meant it. Not the sarcastic kind of unfortunate, but genuinely sad that it had come to this. He wants me to tell you that he's been thinking about everything, about when you were younger. I waited. She continued. He remembers more than he let on. The wedding reception you missed when you were 18. Other things. He said he always thought your mom was being ridiculous, but he never said anything because it was easier not to make waves. So he's sorry now that there are consequences. Bethany flinched. He's sorry because he's realizing what actually happened. My therapist has been helping me see it too. We've been going to couples counseling since the restraining order. This surprised me. Why couples counseling? Because I enabled it too. I never questioned why you weren't at family events. I never pushed back when your mom made those excuses. I just accepted it because it was convenient. She shifted her kale to her other hand. I'm not asking you to forgive us. I'm just telling you that some of us are finally seeing the truth. What about my mother? Is she seeing anything? Bethany's laugh was bitter. Your mother has convinced herself she's the victim. She's telling anyone who'll listen that you had some kind of psychological break and turned against your loving family. She started going to a different church because people at the old one were asking too many questions. We stood there for another moment. Then Bethany did something unexpected. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small envelope. These are photos from Marcus's wedding, the reception you weren't invited to. I found them while cleaning out old boxes. She handed them to me. I thought you might want them, not for nostalgia, but as proof in case you ever need more evidence of what they did. I took the envelope, unsure what to say. Inside were dozens of photos. My entire family celebrating while I'd been home alone eating leftover pizza. There was even a picture of the seating chart. My name wasn't on it. Thank you, I managed. I'm not asking for anything in return. I just needed to do something that wasn't completely terrible. She paused. For what it's worth, your wedding looked beautiful. I saw the photos your friends posted. You looked happy. I was. I am. She nodded and walked away, leaving me standing there with proof of my 18-year-old heartbreak captured in glossy prints. That night, I showed Ryan the photos. He looked through them silently, his expression growing darker with each image. Jesus, Phyllis, you were just a kid. I know. How did they justify this to themselves? I don't think they did. I think they just didn't think about it at all. The photos went into the drawer with my father's letter. Evidence of a past I was still processing even as I moved forward. The next surprise came from Tyler. He couldn't call or text. The restraining order prevented that. Instead, he sent a package through his lawyer to my workplace, which was legally permissible as a one-time communication through proper legal channels. Inside was a journal. Tyler's journal, apparently from when he was in college. A sticky note on the front read, Page 47. I thought you should know. This is my only communication. I won't contact you again. I opened to page 47. The entry was dated December 2013, right after Christmas when I was 21. Phyllis asked why she couldn't come to Christmas Eve dinner at Grandma's. Mom said it was because Grandma's house was too small and someone had to stay home. But Grandma's house isn't small. We had 12 people there and could have fit more. I asked Mom why Phyllis specifically had to be the one to stay home. She got mad and told me to stop questioning her. She said Phyllis was going through a difficult phase and it was better for everyone if she wasn't around certain family members. I don't understand what that means. Phyllis isn't difficult. She's quiet and she draws a lot. What's difficult about that? I think Mom just doesn't like her as much as she likes the rest of us. I don't know why. It makes me feel guilty every time we go somewhere without her. But I don't say anything because I don't want Mom to be mad at me too. I read the entry 5 times. Tyler had known. He'd questioned it, at least internally, but he'd chosen silence over standing up for me. There were other entries marked with sticky notes throughout the journal. Each one documented another instance of my exclusion, another moment where Tyler noticed but said nothing. The final marked entry was from 2016. I've stopped writing about Phyllis being left out. It happens so often now that it would take up the whole journal. I feel like a coward for not saying anything. But Marcus doesn't say anything either, and Jessica actively agrees with Mom, so what difference would it make? Sometimes I think about asking Phyllis if she's okay, but I don't know what I'd say. Sorry Mom treats you like garbage and the rest of us just watch. That seems worse than saying nothing at all. The package also included a letter sent through his attorney. Phyllis, I don't expect you to forgive me. I'm sending this through legal channels as a one-time communication, and I won't violate the restraining order by contacting you again. I think you deserve to know that at least one of us noticed what was happening. I noticed, and I did nothing, which maybe makes me worse than Mom and Jessica, who seemed genuinely oblivious to their own cruelty. I chose my comfort over your well-being repeatedly for years. The restraining order, the court hearing, all of it. It made me pull out these old journals and confront what I'd chosen to forget. You deserve better from all of us, but especially from me. I was old enough to know better and too cowardly to do better. I hope you're happy now. I mean that genuinely. Tyler. Ryan found me crying on the couch when he got home from work, the journal open on my lap. What happened? I showed him. He read several entries, then set the journal down carefully. How do you feel? I don't know. Validated, angry, sad, all of it. That's fair. He knew, Ryan, for years. He knew it was wrong, and he just let it happen. Yeah. Part of me wants to respond and tell him it's okay, that I understand he was young and scared, but it's not okay, is it? No, Ryan said gently. It's not. And you don't owe him absolution just because he finally feels guilty. The journal joined the photos in the drawer, evidence of a family that failed me in real time, with witnesses who chose silence. It's been 4 months since the wedding now. Ryan and I have settled into married life beautifully. We host dinners with his family every other week. My book club friends throw me surprise brunches. My coworkers have become genuine friends, people who show up and support each other. I've built the family I always wanted, just not with the people I share DNA with. Last week, my lawyer called me. Tyler's attorney had contacted him with a request. My father wanted to send me a letter, but given the restraining order, he needed my explicit written permission to do so without violating the court order. I thought about it for 2 days. Finally, I told Brian to allow it. 1 letter. That was it. It arrived a week later, written in my father's careful handwriting. Phyllis, I'm sorry. I should have said something years ago. I should have protected you. I didn't understand what your mother was doing until it was too late, and by then, I didn't know how to fix it. I'm not asking for forgiveness or contact. I just wanted you to know that I see it now, and I'm sorry. I read it 3 times. Then I put it in the drawer with Tyler's journal and the photos from Marcus's wedding, and went back to making dinner with my husband. Maybe someday I'll respond. Maybe I won't. The point is, it's my choice now. I've stopped checking social media for updates about my family. I've blocked numbers and filtered emails. I've created a life where their presence isn't a constant wound. My therapist says I'm thriving. Ryan's mom says I'm glowing. My friends say I seem happier than they've ever seen me. I am. The moral of this story isn't that cutting off family is always the answer. It's that you teach people how to treat you. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who refuse to learn. I spent years believing I was the problem, that if I could just be better or different or more useful, they'd want me around. The truth is, there was never anything wrong with me. The problem was that I kept trying to force people to love me who had already decided I wasn't worth the effort. So I found people who thought I was worth it. I married a man who thinks I hung the moon. I have friends who show up without being asked. I have in-laws who consider me a daughter. And somewhere across town, my biological family is probably still talking about how I ruined everything by setting boundaries. Let them talk. I'm too busy being happy to care. The one call I made to that lawyer didn't just end the harassment. It ended the cycle. It ended the years of wondering what I did wrong and how I could fix it. It ended the hope that maybe someday they'd choose me. And in ending all of that, it gave me the space to build something better. I don't regret the wedding they weren't invited to. I don't regret the restraining order. I don't regret any of it. Because for the first time in my entire life, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, surrounded by people who actually want me there. And that's worth more than any family reunion could ever be.